Hi, I'm Paige. Welcome back to my kitchen. You're watching the equipment video on my new series, Doughin It with Paigey. I am going to be going over the recommended equipment to follow the cookbook, Bread Baking for Beginners. First things first, you're going to need a set of mixing bowls. I have this set of 3. I got this on Amazon. I really like these because they have a rubber base, which keeps the bowls from sliding around on the counter while I'm using them. The next thing that you'll need is a set of small bowls. The brand that I'm using here is Pyrex. This came in a set of 4, and I really like using these to weigh out smaller ingredients like salt and yeast. If you don't have a set of small bowls like this, honestly, any bowl will work. I also have some Ramekins set out here. These work just as well. The next thing you'll need is a proofing basket, and I have one right here. I actually got this one on Amazon, and it actually came with a dough scraper and a lom, which I'll get into in just a second. The next item on the list of tools that you'll need is a kitchen scale. I got this one on Amazon. It's from Greater Goods, and I love this kitchen scale. It also came with an extra battery, and I know that might not seem like much to a lot of people, but I was really happy for that extra charge. All of the recipes in Bread Baking for Beginners have the ingredients weighed out in grams, so the kitchen scale does come in handy. The next thing that I would recommend is having a dough scraper. Like I said, this one came with my proofing basket, but if you aren't able to find that combo, I was able to purchase this metal dough scraper at the dollar store near me. Temperature is an important factor when baking bread, so having a kitchen thermometer is something you'll definitely need to have to follow this book. I will say I have tested the theory to see if a kitchen thermometer is really necessary to follow the recipes in this book. I have simply added warm water to my flour, yeast, and salt mixture just to see what the effect is on the final outcome of the dough. The results were just not the same as if I had followed the instructions like I should have in the book. The next thing that you're going to need is a lom. A lom is used to slash the top of your dough. While you won't need this for every recipe in the book, especially the first chapter, this will come in handy later on in the book as you get more advanced. The brand of lom that I'm using is Bread Bosses. I got this on Amazon. I want to say it was about $13. I really like this brand because it came with a convenient carrying case as well as a sheath for the lom. It also came with 10 replacement blades, and these are really nice to have. Next thing on the list, and I really do recommend these are cast iron Dutch ovens. This one is ceramic coated, and I really do like this one. This is my primary Dutch oven that I go to when I'm baking loaves of bread. This one is obviously not ceramic coated. It works just as well and still gives you that really nice brown crispy crust as well as a good spring in the oven. While this one isn't as good as my ceramic coated cast iron, I still use this one pretty often. The brand of Dutch ovens that I'm using here, they're both Lodge, and I'll link those in the description. I tested the theory to see if a Dutch oven was really necessary to follow this book. I have the results of me baking a loaf in a Dutch oven versus a baking sheet, and I'll show you that here in just a sec. As you can see, this one obviously looks a little bit different than this one. This one was baked on a sheet pan, and let me say, this one was hard as a rock when we took this out of the oven. I could have killed someone if I threw this in their direction. My husband also was joking that it looks like some sort of cartoon loaf of bread, which I couldn't agree more. By testing this theory, I do think that investing in a Dutch oven is a good investment if you'd like to start baking bread. The next thing on my list that I use pretty frequently when baking bread is actually a rubber spatula. I'm pretty sure most people have this in their kitchen, but I actually use this to get dough out of my bowl when it's kind of sticking, so I really like using this. I'm going to move on to a couple of things that you won't need for every recipe, but are still nice to have in the kitchen for some of the recipes in the book. First is a rolling pin. I got this one at Walmart. I think it was about $10. And the other thing I would recommend having is a couple of loaf pans. Glass or metal, both work fine. And again, you won't need these for every recipe in the book, but they are nice to have for some of the recipes. I'm going to move on to something that I don't believe is covered in the book, but it's bread storage. I love to keep my bread in a paper bag. That's really what keeps that nice crust on the outside of your bread. You just put it in the bag and set it on your countertop. It'll keep it nice and fresh for you. I'm going to have a link in the description for all of the equipment that we've talked about here today. I'll also have a link to buy Bread Baking for Beginners by Bonnie Ohara. Be sure to subscribe, and thanks again for watching Doughin It with Paigey. See you next time.